You know, there are people who can walk into any room, they can post any content online, they can literally say anything and not only command respect, but get people to be obsessed with them, and they can get cult-like fans. And what is the secret behind all of this? Is it in the way they speak, in their messaging? Is it in the content they post, the way they dress? Not really. And I'm gonna break this down in this video because this is a psychology effect that and trick that once you master, this will get you cold like fans forever. Not only with your brand, but also in your day-to-day life. And I'm applying this in my daily life. I can walk into a restaurant, I can walk into a high-end hotel lobby, lounge, whatever, and I get people to be obsessed with my presence and just almost like become magnetic and build that aura, because this is what we all want, especially if you're a founder, if you're someone who's creating content. You want respect, right? You want people to be obsessed with the things that you do. You don't just want followers. You don't want people that just like your stuff for the hell of it, right? You want people that are actually there, that are involved. And this is the biggest issue that I'm seeing now with the whole, and I talk about it all the time, the fucking funnel boys, the funnel gurus who just give you copy paste strategies, but they don't teach you the foundational things and the psychology behind building a cult, because this is what I'm doing. I'm essentially helping creators become icons in their fucking industry. And I want to break this down because this is going to be essentially life changing, because you can extrapolate this from the branding aspect, content aspect, and you can again bringing into every single area of your life, right? So this is what I like to call the overflow effect. So what is this? Let's break it down and let's unpack it. The overflow effect is basically that sort of attitude in which you're in an abundant place and you just give off that vibe that you don't really need anything. And so that is very attractive. When you cultivate that and when you understand that and when you internalize this principle, this will by default, by like in and of itself, it will make you magnetic. It will make other people wonder what is up with this guy. Like he seems like he's got it all figured out. He seems like he doesn't need anything. And so that on a human perspective, on a human level, that is attractive to us because as human beings, we are wired to be intrigued and almost like drawn to the people who seem like they don't actually need anything. Not money, not fans, not opportunities, not relationships. People that are just essentially secure with who they are and what they have. And so this overflow effect is essentially this idea of, you know what, I'm good, like regardless, right? I'm larger than life. I have this attitude where, and again, you can take this into literally every single area in your life, and I'm gonna give you an actual step-by-step formula to shift some internal beliefs to actually achieve this. But you can apply this, for example, in sales conversations. When the prospect is hesitant, whatever, if you have that energy, like, you know what, I'm good. It doesn't matter if you buy or not, because regardless, I'm good. You can apply this to dating, right? So you go on a date and you don't give off that essentially that desperate vibe. You don't give off that vibe like, oh, you know what, like this needs to work. Because that level of scarcity, because that's what that is, it's scarcity, it's your lack of like self-belief, it's the just the overall like super scarce mindset that will repel people. So especially if we're talking business, if we're talking building a brand, if you're talking creating content, you don't want to give off that energy. And I see this like I see this even with big creators, they kind of give off that energy. And what do you think happens when you have a client conversation? If that scarcity mode shows up in the way you speak to the customer, you will automatically repel them. And even on a subconscious level, your mind will try and find ways to sabotage and kill the sale because you're stuck in this scarcity mode, like, and you look desperate because that's literally what it is. So the overflow effect and this attitude of, you know what, I'm bigger than life, I'm larger than life, I'm larger than anything, and I don't need anything. This will take you to that level where essentially you become undeniable. And especially when we're talking about building a brand, this is what you need, right? And you can look at the biggest names in the space. You can look at Steve Jobs, you can look at artists like The Weeknd, you can look at like even like movie stars. These people essentially draw people to them and build loyal armies because they give off that vibe. Like, I don't actually need fans. I don't actually need people to follow me. And because they don't need people, that's why people need them. So keep this in mind. When you're building a brand, you don't need the people. The people need you. And in order for you to do this, you need to have a couple of like internal mental shifts and mindset shifts for you to be able to essentially go from the scarcity sort of like mode to that overflow effect and state. Because again, when you're in that, nothing can fucking stop you. And I'm speaking from personal experience. Like, I apply this wherever I go. I could go to the gym, I could go to that lounge, I could go to whatever, like a hotel lobby. I walk in with that sort of energy. Now, mind you, this doesn't mean I walk in like a fucking jerk and I just start talking shit. It's just that, again, that abundant sort of state that people can feel. It's a fucking aura. And that is what's making you magnetic. Because everybody right now is talking about, oh, do this to become magnetic. You don't necessarily have to do external stuff. All of this, when I'm talking about this psychology, is internal. It's something that you need to change internally. So I made some notes here in terms of the mental shifts. So let's go through them. The very first thing that I want to touch on is you need to become larger than money. Okay? And I said this to a client that I'm working with one-on-one right now. And she told me, like, that alone, this phrase that you told me, become larger than money, this is way more valuable than other programs, all of the programs combined that I paid for in the past. Become larger than money. And let me explain. If you put money, and this is what a lot of people do, they put money on a pedestal and they essentially worship money to the point where whatever opportunity they try to get, it literally, like, it slips away because they obsess over money so much that they think they're below money. And when you're below something, when you put something above you, what will that thing do? That thing will run away from you. That thing will run away from you. And it's going to be very hard for you to master that thing if you put it above you. And the number one thing that people usually put above them is money, because they think money's so hard to make. Money's just, money's controlling my life. Money's doing this. When in reality, money, yes, gets things going. Money essentially, like, you need money for sure. I'm not going to sit here and tell you don't. But money is fundamentally just fucking numbers on a screen. If you understand the fiat system and everything, you understand money is not even real. It's just manufactured numbers on a screen. So this idea that, money's above me and money's difficult to make, that is what's going to keep you in the scarcity mode. And the very first shift that I had to make personally was realize that, you know what? I'm larger than money. I'm bigger than money. Because when you become more valuable than money in general, and just to put this into perspective, if your internal value is at 100 million, it's going to be very easy for you to make a couple of millions here and there, right? And so in order for you to become larger than money, it's also that, like, it's obviously the internal shift, but it's also the fact that you need to create what we call leverage. You need to create a brand. You need to create a business. You need to position yourself in such a way that you become way more valuable than money. So when someone engages in a conversation with you, they don't mind spending $20,000, $50,000 with you, because they know the return on that investment is through the roof. So then at that point, you became way more valuable than that tiny sum of money. And this is also a change. Like, you need to realize what you've been saying so far, like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. If you say like 5,000, it's a lot of money. You have to realize there are people spending 5,000 on dinner, like 5,000 for a bottle of wine in Sicily. Like, what are we talking about? So you need to become larger than money. That's the number one thing, because again, that is going to transpire. That is going to, like, people, when you walk into a room, people are going to be able to feel that energy. Like, yeah, this guy seems important, right? Like, this person seems like they are just at a different level, because that's the mental shift that you need. That's the first one. That's why I wrote it the first one. Becoming larger than money. Because when you do that, your whole energy changes from the way, for example, you speak to people in person in day to day, from the way you conduct yourself, from your demeanor when you walk into a room, and then on the business level. For example, if you're creating content, from the way you create the content, from the way you talk when you do the stories, from the way you talk when you do the videos. Every single thing, like every single thing you do will show that energy. And what do you know? That energy will attract money, because the minute the money's below you, that means you control it, right? That means you have control over it. And so when the money goes down, or the money, the numbers in the bank account go up or whatever, you don't fluctuate. Like, your state is good regardless, because you're above it. So that's the very first shift. Now, the second thing, you need to realize you need to become the source. What do I mean by this? You need to become the source of abundance, because there is no, like, a lot of people are so obsessed with, I have to get some numbers on social media, I have to get the car, I have to get the revenue, whatever. But internally, they're a fucking mess. And when you're a mess internally, it doesn't matter. Like, all of these external things, they're just like a band-aid. You can only get so many cars, you can only get so many numbers on a screen. But if the source is a mess, everything realistically on some level, it's going to be messed up. Everything is going to crumble. So the very first, like, the second thing that you need to understand with this is that you need to internally become the source for this overflow effect, for this high energy, as I like to call it. And I had this conversation with one of my friends, and we were like, you know what? The best person, like the number one winner mindset that you can have, is essentially creating that like high energy and sourcing that high energy from within. Your environment right now might be fucked up. Your opportunities, like external opportunities, might be limited. So you might have that low energy internally. But when you're able to manufacture that and create that from within, then that means regardless of the environment you're in, regardless of results, regardless of like how much or how well or how bad the content is performing or whatever, you're good, because you have an infinite amount of fucking energy. So when you actually become the source for all of this, everything changes, because you're not dependent on whatever outside thing. You have it internally. So you have to become the source. Now, the third shift is you gotta fall in love with the game, not the score. You gotta fall in love with the game, not the score. So regardless, let's call it the game of life, period. It could be the game of business. You need to love the fucking game. Stop obsessing over the scoreboard. The reason why a lot of people cannot be consistent, for example, with content, is because they want instant results. They post 2 days, they look at the scoreboard. They have a conversation with a client, they didn't close that client, and they essentially go back to the scoreboard instantly, and they're like, oh, look at the scoreboard, I'm not winning. But they're not focused on the game. They're not obsessed with actually playing the game. Do you think when Kobe was going for the shots, he was just obsessed with the scoreboard? He was in the fucking field. He was focused on the game, on the actual play, so he can make the play happen. And it's the same thing with life. It's the same thing with relationships. It's the same thing with business. The minute you're obsessed with the outcome and with the number on the screen, again, the scoreboard, that's when you lose focus from the actual game. And you're supposed to focus on the game so you can get the right plays in. So fall in love with the process. This is basically the gist of it. Fall in love with the day-to-day. You know what? I got to get up. I got to film content. I got to get up. I got to have conversations with people, conversation with clients. I got to go on this date. I got to go to the gym. Again, it's the same principle. You have to, whatever the game is, you have to love the game, not the scoreboard. Because the scoreboard might go up, it might go down. But again, the overflow effects, which is going to make people obsessed with you and make them almost like turn them into cult-like fans. That's the whole point. You're not focused like, let's say Michael Jordan, because we were talking about basketball, right? Michael Jordan wasn't focused on the like how many points he scored, because for him, it was the obsession, the pure obsession with the actual game, with the actual process. Why do you think people were obsessed with him? That's the reason, because he didn't care about the scoreboard. For him, it was just the obsession with the fucking game, with the entire process. And again, Take this into whatever industry you have. The minute you truly become obsessed with, okay, I wanna become the best at this. I want to become the best at this game. The scoreboard doesn't matter. The money on the screen doesn't matter because I'm larger than money. The minute you do that, then you will have the overflow effect. Then you will start becoming magnetic. You will attract people. You will attract opportunities. People are going to see that on camera, the way you speak, your presence. A lot of people, even when they made a lot of money, the problem is they attached their value and their identity to that number on the screen. And I did this in the past. And what happens when you do this is when that money, the number on the screen drops, your identity drops. Your value drops because you think I am this number. So when you're so obsessed with the scoreboard will literally control your emotions and your entire identity and life. So that's why you got to love the game. Now, the final shift that you need to make with this. And this goes like, it's basically from the third one, but you need to detach from any single outcome. Okay, so no matter what you do, detach from the outcome. Don't be focused on, don't give yourself a timeline like in 6 months from now, I gotta get X. Because you have no control. You have to realize in life, you have no control over the output, over the what you get, over the outcome. You only have control over what you put in, over your inputs. So every single day when you wake up and you go to work or you work on your business or whatever it is, you go out, focus on what can I control? What could I do today? It doesn't matter. Again, the scoreboard doesn't matter. And when you detach from that outcome to the point where you have that energy, like I'm good. The client said no, I'm good. The money dropped, I'm good. You invested in crypto and it dropped or stocks, I'm good. You posted a YouTube video and it didn't perform, I'm good. I had that energy when I was posting on Instagram for the first 3 months and a half. I was posting every fucking day with little to no results. I was getting 100 views, if that, or 200 views a video. But I still had that energy. I'm amazing. I'm larger than life again. It's that whole overflow, abundance. And it's very tough. This is very tough to teach because it's something that you need to cultivate. That's why I gave you the internal shifts. It's something that you need to cultivate from within. It's not something that you can there's a step-by-step guides that you can do and boom, in 2 days you got it. You need to cultivate this from within and you need to realize your value, and everything is bigger than money. It's bigger than some numbers. And I say this to my friends and my clients, you're bigger than the content, you're bigger than the game, you're bigger than the platforms. And this again extrapolates in life. You have to think like that. You have to walk into a room and think, you know what, I'm larger than life. And the mindset I use is, regardless of the challenge that I go through, it could be on a personal level or business level. Let's say I'm trying to build something with my consulting business, take it to the next level, build some other brands. If I find that, okay, I kind of struggle with this or it's a challenge, I go back and I think about the bad shit I went through. I think about the rock bottom moments. I think about, because and I said this so many times, it feels like I live 10 lives by now. And I can go back and my mind references that. And then I'm like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? I'm above this. I'm larger than life. I got the overflow effect. And again, on a personal level, on a brand level, this will get people obsessed. Because everyone truly, deep down, everyone desires that. Everybody wants that effect. Everybody wants that, to feel that abundance. A lot of people say they want money and stuff, but they don't really want money, because even if they had all of the money in the world, still the problem is internal. This is why you need to become larger than money. So you're not affected by it. You respect it in a way that, okay, you're aware it's there, but you don't put it on a pedestal. You're not obsessed with it. The money needs to be obsessed with you. And again, you need to become larger than the money. So take all of these internal shifts right now. Again, you got them in the video, write it down on something, and every single day go through them and watch how your entire fucking life, on a personal level, on a business level, with content, if you're creating content, if you're growing a brand, watch how everything changes. Because this goes deeper. If we're talking content, this goes deeper than some strategies. Post this, post that. No, it's deeper than that. It's the energy that you bring to the table. And the minute you have the high energy, the abundance state, and you bring that with, to the table with content, you show that on camera, that's when everything will click. And people, even through the small screen, people will feel that. Like, yeah, this guy gets it. Like, he doesn't need me, but because he doesn't need me, I'm attracted to whatever he's saying. That's called being magnetic. That's called, like, essentially having that aura. So that was the video for today. I'm gonna make a lot more like this on a mindset, pure mindset level, because I think they're super fucking helpful and they're needed in the space. They're needed because a lot of people, what they do, the funnel boys, whatever, they're gonna give you a strategy. They're gonna give you this whiteboard, whatever complex thing to overwhelm you with that. But not a lot of people touch on this. And these are all like foundational concepts and methods that once you apply, again, it will literally change your life. So I'm going to see you in the next one.